If you run a DNA testing business or you're thinking about starting one, this might be one of the most important videos you watch this year because there are government incentives that can help you hire collectors, train staff, open offices, and scale faster. But nobody in the DNA testing industry talks about this. Do you know that every year billions of dollars in government incentives go unused by small businesses? Not because most don't qualify, but because most don't know they exist. Every year, billions in tax credits, hiring incentives, training reimbursements, state business incentives go completely unused. Around 90% of small business owners never touch this money. Why? Because again, most small business owners simply don't know about them or apply too late or have accountants who never bring it up, which is a big problem. Now, let's be real. Most people in the DNA testing space are focused on labs, collections, marketing, and chain of custody. But very few people are thinking about leverage. And today I'm going to tell you how government incentives can actually help you grow a DNA testing business. Here's what most people don't realize. DNA testing businesses fall into multiple categories that qualify for incentives. You're healthcare adjacent, workforce driven, community based, often offer mobile service. That combination makes you attractive to state programs, workforce grants, minority and women business initiatives, and healthcare expansion funding, especially if you're training collectors, offering mobile service, and serving families or legal markets. You are more eligible than you know. Let's start with one of the biggest opportunities, workforce incentives. If you're hiring specimen collectors, mobile technicians, office staff, some programs will reimburse training costs, offset onboarding, or provide hiring tax credits. And this matters because most DNA testing businesses scale by building teams. If the government helps offset training and hiring, that's leverage. Now let's talk about the work opportunity tax credit. This is a real federal tax credit. If you hire someone from certain categories like veterans, long term unemployed individuals, ex felons, recipients of SNAP benefits, recipients of SSI, residents of federally designated empowerment zones, you can receive $2,400 to $9,600 per employee in tax credits. Again, the maximum tax credit ranges between those numbers per qualifying person hired, and it offsets the employer's federal income tax dollar for dollar. Employers collectively claim about $1 billion in those credits each year, which sounds like a lot until you realize how much more goes on in claim. If you're hiring anyone who could qualify, this credit should be part of your standard onboarding process. Form 8850 must be completed by both the employer and the job applicant on or before the day an offer of employment is made. An employer has 28 calendar days from the new employee start date to submit it to the designated state agency. Missing that 28-day window means losing the credit entirely for that hire. Work opportunity tax credit is non-refundable. It reduces your tax liability, but if you don't owe taxes, you won't get a check. In other words, it reduces what you owe in taxes, but won't generate a refund if your liability is zero. But unused credits can be carried forward to future tax years. So if you can't use all the credits this year, you can use them in future years. You won't lose them. I do want to mention, though, that the work opportunity tax credit is currently on a temporary hiatus until Congress reauthorizes it. Nothing to worry about, though. This has happened like a dozen times in the past. Next, let's talk about training grants for DNA testing businesses. This is where it gets really interesting for our industry. Many states offer workforce training grants. If you're training people in chain of custody procedures, specimen handling, compliance protocols, you may qualify for 25% to 75% reimbursement on training costs, which can significantly reduce your out-of-pocket expenses while allowing you to hire, train, and scale your team faster. Now let's talk about how to find and apply for state incentives. Pretty much every state has its own economic development agency offering tax credits, training grants, and wage reimbursements. The process is simpler than most people think. Start by searching for your state name alongside the terms economic development incentives or your state name plus workforce training grants. You can also go directly to your state's Department of Labor or Department of Commerce website or a dedicated economic development office. Most applications take less than 30 minutes to complete online. What you'll typically need is basic business information, payroll or expense documentation, and evidence that you haven't already made the hire or investment you're seeking incentives for. Because the most important rule is this: you must apply before you hire or expand, not after. Missing that window means missing the incentive entirely. Once approved, you either claim the credit at tax time or receive a direct reimbursement, depending on the program. Always loop in your accountant before applying to confirm eligibility and make sure you're capturing the full benefit. There are office and equipment incentives too. If you're opening a DNA collection office, a hybrid mobile and office model, or a training location, some states offer lease assistance, build-out grants, equipment reimbursements, and this can apply to office furniture, collection equipment, training environments, and commercial space upgrades, especially if you're transitioning from going fully mobile to a physical location. Let's talk about the Section 179 deduction. This is a federal tax strategy many DNA testing business owners don't use properly. If you purchase company vehicles, collection equipment, office gear, you may be able to write off a large portion immediately, even if financed. But this has to be structured correctly with your CPA. Section 179 of the tax code allows businesses to deduct the full purchase price of qualifying equipment and vehicles in the year they're placed into service, rather than depreciating the cost over several years, allowing you to write off the equipment immediately. As of 2026, the deduction limit is $2.5 million. What qualifies? Business equipment, machinery, computers, office furniture, and vehicles used primarily for business. A critical detail many miss, though: you could take the full Section 179 deduction even on finance equipment. You don't need to have paid it off. You just need to have placed it into service during the tax year. To illustrate how this works in practice, imagine you launch or expand a DNA testing business. You purchase a mobile testing vehicle and $75,000 worth of new equipment. Under Section 179, you can write off the entire cost in the current tax year rather than waiting years for standard depreciation to run its course. The point about finance equipment is real and often surprises business owners. You can take the full Section 179 deduction in the year you place equipment into service, even if you finance it and haven't fully paid it off yet. One important limitation: the deduction cannot exceed your business's taxable income for the year. If it does, the unused portion carries forward. It's not lost, but it is deferred. In other words, you need actual business income to absorb the deduction. If your deduction exceeds the taxable income, the unused portion carries forward to future years. Now let's talk about something huge in this space. If you're a minority, woman, or veteran, getting certified as a minority-owned business, woman-owned business, or veteran-owned business can unlock funding opportunities, contracts, supplier diversity, partnerships, local grant programs, and more. Let me tell you why most people in the DNA testing industry never touch these opportunities. Number one, lack of awareness. Most DNA testing trainers don't teach this. They focus on how to collect DNA, not how to build leverage in a DNA testing business. Number two, timing. Many incentives require you to apply before hiring, before signing leases, before expanding. If you apply after, it's too late. Number three, poor advisory teams. A lot of business owners have basic tax prep accountants, but not strategic CPAs, business advisors, and incentive-aware professionals, and that makes all the difference. If you're serious about building a real DNA testing business, here's what I recommend. First, start researching incentives in your state. Look for economic development programs, workforce grants, small business incentives. Second, talk to a knowledgeable CPA. Ask them what tax credits are you not using. Ask them if you're eligible for workforce incentives, and ask them how you can structure purchases better. If they can't answer that, you need to find somebody else. Third, think bigger than collections. Start thinking like a CEO. Not just how do I make money, but how do I reduce costs and keep more of what I make? Because wealth isn't just about revenue. It's about tax strategy, leverage, incentives, and systems. And when you start stacking those together, that's when things really start to scale. These incentives can compound your growth to grow faster and keep more of what you earn. So again, make sure you speak to someone from your local economic development office, chamber of commerce, and Small Business Development Center. Because beyond its loan programs, the SBA, aka Small Business Association, funds a nationwide network of small business development centers, women's business centers, and SCORE mentorship programs. These offer free one-on-one business consulting to help you navigate exactly the kinds of programs I mentioned in this video. A small business development center advisor can help you identify which state and federal programs you're eligible for, walk you through the application process, and connect you with local resources you wouldn't find on your own. It's a genuinely underused resource, and it costs nothing. It's free help most business owners are not using. You can find your nearest small business development center through sba.gov. So in conclusion, the businesses that benefit from these programs aren't special. They're just the ones that bother to look. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did and you want my help starting your own DNA testing business, I've left the link in the description below where you can apply to work with me directly. But other than that, I thank you for watching till the end. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.